When Shohei Ohtani signed his mind-blowing 10-year, $700 million contract with the Dodgers in 2023, the baseball world collectively lost its mind. And for good reasons. It wasn't just the biggest contract in baseball at the time, it was the biggest contract in sports history, period. So, naturally, we all assumed no other baseball player, heck, no other athlete, was going to top that number anytime soon.
Wait a minute!
Were we wrong? Because just 1 year later, Juan Soto has laughed in the face of financial logic and signed a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets. To put this into perspective, if you combine Tom Brady's entire 23-year NFL earnings with Aaron Judge's projected career earnings by 2031, you'd still be $36 million short of Soto's deal. Just in case that number hasn't fully fried your brain yet, we're talking about $51 million per year, $980,000 per week, $140,000 per day, $6,000 per hour, and $100 per minute for the next 15 years. That means by the time you finish watching this video, Soto has probably made more money than your monthly rent. Now, that's beyond insane. But what makes it even more shocking is that it makes absolutely no sense.
$765 million to a guy who in 5 years is going to be your designated hitter? That sounds a little outlandish to me. I have to be fair.
My question is it worth it?
Before we get into it, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, so you're always in the loop for the latest MLB scoop. Now, a $765 million contract is pure insanity, no doubt. That's $750 million for one guy. But to really understand how we got to this point, we have to take a quick trip back to the beginning. See, like so many Dominican players before him, Soto didn't grow up with batting cages, private trainers, or state-of-the-art facilities. He grew up in the kind of poverty where even a ball was a luxury. His neighborhood was so rough that his mom barely let him go outside to play. So to keep playing baseball, he had to get creative. And by creative, I mean he literally played baseball indoors using crumpled up paper wrapped in tape. When he wasn't doing that, he was practicing his swing on bottle caps, which, if you've ever tried, is basically like trying to hit a mosquito with a broomstick. Turns out, that kind of practice actually makes you ridiculously good. For one, trying to hit tiny, unpredictable objects sharpened his hand-eye coordination to near superhuman levels. That kind of talent doesn't go unnoticed for long. So, when the first national scout saw him swing, his jaw practically hit the floor. He was so impressed, he immediately made sure the team's director of Latin American operations took a look, and the excitement only grew from there. Soto didn't just have a killer swing, he had the work ethic, the attitude, and the hunger that separates stars from hopefuls. It didn't take long for Nationals general manager Mike Rizzo to take an interest, and the team started keeping a close eye on him. Soto's big break came when he traveled to Florida for a Dominican Prospect League tournament, where MLB scouts gathered to find the next generation of superstars. Everyone expected Soto to land a deal, and sure enough, the White Sox had a $1.4 million offer lined up for him. It seemed like his future was set, but at the last second, the Nationals made their move. They set up a private hitting session, watched him swing one more time, and immediately bumped their offer to $1.5 million. That slight increase was enough to seal the deal. A handshake later, Soto was officially a Washington National, but little did we know this kid was about to shake things up real good. The moment he stepped onto the field with the Gulf Coast League Nationals in 2016, Soto set the place on fire and left without looking back, hitting .368 with 5 home runs and 32 RBIs. The Nationals took one look at those numbers and sent him up to the Auburn Doubledays, where he barely had time to unpack his bags before getting promoted again. The promotions kept coming, and Soto kept making pitchers regret their career choices.
Plenty of youthful talent. Right on left, Juan Soto, the dangerous prospect, thrills the first pitch he sees.
He opened 2018 with Hagerstown, and just 16 games later, he was bumped up again, this time to Harrisburg in Double-A. By the time he was 19, he wasn't just ahead of schedule, he was rewriting the rules entirely.
And here's the 3-1, and it's hit high in the air.
and hit deep out to left center.
Most prospects his age were still adjusting to pro pitching, grinding their way up one level at a time. Soto, on the other hand, was bulldozing through the minors like they were in his way. At this point, he wasn't even old enough to rent a car, but he was already hitting like a player with a decade in the majors. And while most people assumed he was still at least a year or two away from the majors, Soto knew better. He had already torn through every level of the minors, and sticking around any longer would have just been wasting everyone's time. The Nationals saw it too, and on May 20th, 2018, at just 19 years and 207 days old, he made his major league debut, becoming the first player born in 1998 to appear in an MLB game. Now, the rest, they say, is history. As a rookie, Juan Soto crushed clutch homers, tormented pitchers, and led the Nationals to their first ever World Series title.
First day in the World Series, my birthday, everything goes through the way we want, and right now I'm just living the dream.
He sent Clayton Kershaw packing in the NLDS.
In the air to deep right center field, and there she goes. We are tied.
Launched 3 bombs in the Fall Classic, and made sure Washington fans never forgot his name. Over the next 4.5 seasons, he put up video game numbers, including a .291 average, .427 on-base percentage, 119 home runs, and a 160 OPS plus, while leading the league in OBP twice, walks once, and winning a batting title.
Congratulations on winning the batting title and what I believe should lead to an MVP season.
But just raking wasn't enough, so Soto stacked up 2 Silver Sluggers, 2 All-Star nods, and a home run derby crown, all before hitting 24. By then, he wasn't just the face of the franchise. He was one of the best players the Nationals had ever seen, and he knew it. So when the Nationals threw down a 15-year, $440 million offer, the biggest in baseball at the time, by the way, Soto didn't blink. He wanted more. At this point, Washington was falling apart, their championship core gone, their future uncertain. Soto wasn't about to waste his prime on a sinking ship. The Nationals got the memo and traded him to San Diego, where he was supposed to be the missing piece. But unfortunately, the whole thing flopped spectacularly because the team was fundamentally terrible. 2 years later, he was in pinstripes after the Padres passed on his $31 million salary and traded Juan Soto to the Yankees in a move that felt like it should have happened years ago.
And then my prayers were answered. Juan Soto, let me tell y'all something right now. The brother big time, boy. Let me tell you something right now. The brother big time. You know I know what I'm talking about here, right?
By 25, Soto had been tossed between 3 teams, which never happens to a player of his caliber. It was clear that he had to secure a deal, and he had to do it fast with 1 year left before free agency comes knocking. But Soto wasn't just looking for a payday. He wanted to make history. And after watching Shohei Ohtani land $700 million, Soto's mission was clear: top it. But to do that, he had to dominate in a way that made teams beg to break the bank. And that's exactly what he did. In his first week, Juan Soto racked up 9 hits in 17 at-bats, drove in runs like it was second nature, won a game with a laser throw from the outfield.
There's a base hit to right field. Dubon rounds third. They're waving him home. Here's a throw from Soto. Here's the play. Got him. They got him.
And walked away with AL Player of the Week honors. By May, he had 8 home runs.
Drill deep to right field. There it goes.
Was the best hitter in the American League, and with Judge slumping and Garrett Cole out, single-handedly kept the Yankees in first place. Fans were practically on their knees, begging the Yankees to lock him in with a long-term deal. But Soto wasn't biting. When reporters pressed him about a contract, he made it clear he was open to all options.
I'll be open to listen every single team. I don't have any doors closed or anything like that, so I'm going to be available for all 30 teams.
Because in reality, Soto wasn't just playing baseball, he was playing chess. He knew the Yankees' mid-season offer wouldn't come close to what they'd throw at him when they had to outbid every desperate owner in the league. So he bet on himself, kept raking, and watched his value skyrocket after carrying the Yankees on his back while the rest of the lineup crumbled under pressure. By the end of the season, his expected on-base percentage wasn't just the best of the year, it was was the best single-season mark in the entire StatCast era. Before the season, people scoffed at the idea of Soto getting $500 million. But after the insanity he pulled off in the postseason, 7 ESPN analysts had him making over $600 million, and 2 were even betting on $700 million. Normally, the Yankees would have thrown their checkbook at him without hesitation. I mean, if there's one thing they do well, it's spending absurd amounts of money on superstars. And for a while, it seemed like nothing could stand in their way. Nothing except an even bigger billionaire across town with over $20 billion in his bank account and a point to prove. That billionaire was this guy, who happens to be the owner of the New York Mets and the richest owner in baseball history. You see, when Steve Cohen bought the Mets in 2020,
hedge fund billionaire Steve Cohen to purchase the Mets for a record $2.475 billion.
He didn't just want to own a baseball team, he wanted to build a juggernaut. And unlike most owners who try to be penny-wise, Cohen wasn't going to pinch pennies to do it. Before the 2022 season, he handed out over $250 million in contracts.
It's a first step, and you know, when we go further, there'll be bigger celebrations.
Turned Max Scherzer into the highest paid pitcher in MLB history and sent the Mets payroll into outer space. So, in order to keep owners like Steve Cohen from turning the league into their personal spending playground, Major League Baseball introduced the Cohen tax, which is supposed to stop deep-pocketed owners from outspending everyone else. Go over the limit and you're hit with massive penalties. Most owners took the hint, but Steve Cohen isn't most owners. He saw the fines, shrugged, and wrote the check like he was covering a parking ticket.
$290 million is a lot of money to spend overall. You know, like I said before, I'm okay with it, and I'm willing to live with it, and we'll leave it at that.
The Mets' payroll soared past every reasonable limit, and Cohen shelled out over $100 million just in tax penalties, more than some teams spent on their entire rosters. That's how crazy he is. So when word got out that he had his sights set on Juan Soto, it was clear the Yankees were in an arms race against a billionaire who treated money like monopoly cash. Unfortunately, it was a race they couldn't win because even though they were willing to whip out $760 million, they weren't willing to give Soto one very specific demand: a private suite for his family at Citi Field for every home game. Cohen, on the other hand, had no problem saying yes. And just like that, Juan Soto was a Met. Now this is where we get the part where it makes no sense.
He spent $765 million on a guy who in 5 years is going to be a DH. He's a terrible he's not a good right fielder. Go look at the World Series in the postseason. He's not a great base runner. Now he's Ted Williams at the plate. He's a great hitter. He's the best hitter in the sport. No argument. But again, with him, it doesn't make any difference. He has so much money, the owner.
Yeah.
But I mean, $765 million, that's an outrageous contract to a guy who, again, in 5 years is going to be your designated hitter.
Going back to when Shohei Ohtani shattered baseball's financial ceiling with his 10-year, $700 million contract, blowing past the previous record by more than $250 million, there's no doubt it made perfect sense. The guy is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, an elite hitter, and a dominant pitcher wrapped into one. Even when he wasn't on the mound in 2024, he was still more productive than Juan Soto. And when he does pitch, he's in a league of his own. But here's the part people don't talk about enough. Ohtani's $700 million deal isn't really worth $700 million. With all the deferrals, the present-day value is closer to $460 million, a number that already looked like a bargain before he won another MVP and led the Dodgers to a World Series in his first year. On top of that, his global appeal has turned the Dodgers into a money-printing machine. Ticket sales, merchandise, sponsorships. He reportedly made them an extra $20 million off the field in his first month alone. Now, Juan Soto is a superstar in his own right, but let's be real, he's not Ohtani. He's not selling out stadiums in Japan. He's not doubling as an ace pitcher. He's not generating an avalanche of revenue just by existing. So again, no disrespect to Juan Soto because he's ridiculously good. But is he $765 million good? That's the real question.